Is the NHS facing its worst winter yet? According to headlines today, 8 in 10 NHS leaders fear that's the case. Dr Hilary is here. This time of year we always, and particularly during the COVID times, we were always worried that the NHS would buckle. How worried should we be?
Well, the newly elected president of the Royal College of Emergency Medicine has compared going into hospital for some people like going to a lobster pot. You can get in, but you can't get out.
Particularly older people, yeah?
Yeah, so we've got 12-hour waits in A&E to get into a ward if you're being admitted. You've got ambulance crews backed up, shortage of ambulances causing delays, and this is amounting to something like 500 deaths a week currently. So when you look at that, when you look at the staff shortages, the threats of strikes, you've got the respiratory syncytial virus, flu, COVID and everything else, it could be a very bad winter, especially with winter and the cold weather coming as well. So it is a bleak picture, and I hope that when the Health Secretary meets with the unions today, they do reach a settlement quickly and stop talking about percentage rises. Let's just pay nurses, junior doctors, paramedics, porters, cleaners a decent wage so that we encourage them to come and work in our brilliant NHS. But the NHS is probably under threat like never before. It really is make or break for the NHS. That's what I believe. That's what many, many doctors and nurses believe right now. But I think that people can mitigate for this. You know, if you're worried about an elderly relative, take it into your own hands right now. Don't wait for that emergency to occur, because the NHS will be there for emergencies. But you can prevent so many things. So have a look at your elderly relative's house. Do the carpets or rugs pose a threat? Can you take the rugs up
you can
so
do
people
things,
don't trip
practical things.
up?
Yeah.
Make sure they get some pads for their hips. So if they fall, they don't break their hip. You know, make sure that you're in communication with them. Have you got a neighbour on standby in case you need? Have you got an alarm in case they fall? Have they got all their meds? Have they got food? Have they got warmth? Make sure that they're OK. Take that responsibility back into the family and don't leave it all to the NHS. Simple things like that. And what happens if, you know, there's an event, an acute event? You know, it might be necessary to take your child, if you think they've got meningitis, to the hospital yourself. It might be quicker than waiting for an ambulance if there's a strike. So there's plenty of things that you can take on board yourself. Take that responsibility back and give the NHS a break. And, you know, lobby your MP. The NHS is under threat. If you want to keep it, let's protect the nurses, the doctors, the staff who've done so much for us to keep it, because without the NHS, you know, it's not a good thing to contemplate.
I mean, the government have said they're putting more money in. They're going to, you know, they are going to recruit more people. Well, let's just see. That's what they've said.
165,000 vacancies right now.
Let's see what they actually do about it, because all these promises are all very well, but they need to actually act on them.
That's right.
Now, look, the over 65s, I'm not quite there yet. You are, shockingly. But apparently...
Remind me.
Yeah. Apparently, well, being a bit naughty and not taking the care, the due diligence that they might be when it comes to their sexual health.
I'm going to say it because you won't. There's a rise in cases of gonorrhea and chlamydia in the over 65s. Can you believe it?
Why is that?
Two reasons. First of all, more separations and divorces are occurring. So people who've been in monogamous relationships for a long, long time are going on dating sites, they're meeting new partners, but they're not as perhaps sexually health savvy as the youngsters. So they're not worried about pregnancy, so they're not using contraception, they're having unprotected sex.
I see.
And, of course, they're not up to speed. Oh, I didn't think about sexual transmitted infections, and that's why we're seeing a rise. So just a little warning for anybody, you know,
we're not saying
getting
don't.
on a bit and
We're
still
just
having
saying,
fun.
Yes, you can still have fun. Just be careful.
Yeah.
Just be careful. Now, look, this is a great thing. A new campaign urging people that love music to use that music in case there's an emergency and they've got to do CPR.
Yeah. Now, CPR saves lives. There are something like 30,000 people who have a cardiac arrest out of a hospital setting every year, but only 1 in 10 survive at the moment. We could increase that because in other European countries, it's a much better success rate than that. So, the British Heart Foundation, who have an online training tool, are encouraging people, and there's been a great take-up with the pop stars like Anne-Marie, Lizzo, you name it. We had Vinnie Jones before doing Saying Alive. Their tempo is about 100 to 100 120 beats per minute.
Oh,
So
that
when you're doing
works.
your cardiac compressions, that's the tempo you need to
So have
follow.
that song playing in your head.
So that song playing in
That's
your
a
head.
really, really good idea. Now, look, very quickly, Boy George, we were talking about this earlier on. Boy George in the Celebrity Jungle, he is using a lot of techniques.
Yes.
Just to calm
Yes.
himself down a wee bit. And we've seen him tapping.
Emotional freedom technique.
Is that
it's
what it
called.
is?
Yeah, that's it. And what you do, you start tapping at the top of your head,
Yeah.
move down around the eyes, under the nose, chin, down to the armpit. It's also called psychological acupressure.
OK.
It's got other names. But basically, it's a distraction technique. You can explain it by saying it's like acupuncture that uses energy points on the meridian channels to release or supply energy to the body. Whichever way you look at it, it's a distraction technique for pain or emotional
Or if you're
distress.
feeling a bit...
It's been proven to be useful in PTSD and for people with anxiety.
OK.
He's shown how to use it. He was underwater nearly, wasn't he? And he was using that technique
that's right.
to calm himself down. Seems to work for Boy George, so other people can use it.
Geez, if
What's
it
wrong with
helps,
that?
anything that helps, but
Anything
you would need
helps with
distraction in
anxiety
there,
right
wouldn't
now?
you? I couldn't do it. I don't know how they do it, honestly. I'd need to hit my head over, you know, hit
I
myself
can
with
see
the
you
head
eating
rubber
a few things in the jungle.
Not in a million years. Not in a million years.
Catch up on it, no?
No, thank you. No, thank you.